When I was 7, a shadow dragged me out of my bed. Hello, this is my first time posting on Reddit. Sorry if the spelling is bad. I'm not really good at spelling. So when I was 7, I used to see a man in all black with something in his hand. He would follow me to and from school. When I asked my teacher if she could see him, she said I'm just imagining it, and it was the same thing for years. Every time I went to sleep, he was standing over me, just watching me. I'm a really introverted person and didn't talk much, and had little to no friends, so I didn't have anybody to talk to about it. Fast forward 3 years, and one night, I'm laying in bed, and the man in the shadows is watching me, and I stare at him, and all I see is a shadow, no more or less. Just a shadow. And then it moves closer to me, and I just stare at it. Then it picked me up and carried me into the backyard and dropped me on the ground. I hit my kneecap on the concrete. When I looked up, he was gone. I still have the scar on my knee. This was when I was 10. I am 14 now. There was something down there. It was late and I had stayed up gaming into the early hours of the morning, and I was starting to feel a little sleepy. Around 3, maybe 4 a.m., I decided my tiredness had caught up with me and was ready to call it a night. Everyone else was asleep in our house, and I was the only one awake. I had a tray with an empty plate left over from my dinner next to me, so I got up to take it downstairs and into the kitchen. We usually leave the light on at the top of the stairs, illuminating the staircase, but everything was turned off downstairs. I turned on the light to the hallway and made my way to the kitchen. Still carrying the tray, I opened the kitchen door, and not bothering to turn on the light, I placed the tray onto the kitchen table. I was too tired to wash it, so I turned around towards the kitchen door. As I approached it, I froze as I heard the 3-tune jingle that the TV makes when it's turned on. The hair stood up on the back of my neck. I turned back around and was just staring at the TV, which had seemingly turned itself on. Every cell in my body was telling me to turn around and go back upstairs, but I didn't. Trying to find some logical conclusion, I approached the tray I had left on the table, thinking I had accidentally placed it on top of the TV remote, which in turn pushed the power button. I was wrong. There was nothing on either side of the tray, and I saw both the remotes next to the TV. This freaked me out. There was no way it could have turned on from where I was standing. I plucked up the courage to turn off the TV, and it made the same 3-tune jingle. I went to turn it off by the mains, but briefly thought to myself, what if it was already turned off at the mains? Luckily it wasn't. I turned it off and got the hell out of the kitchen. Needless to say, I was now wide awake. Like with a Ouija board. So this particular experience has some backstory, which I will provide you with. Me and my friend, who, for this story, will be named Josh, were curious teenagers about the paranormal. We didn't exactly know what a ghost was, whether it's just a dead person or it's a soul, but we were very curious. One night, we get curious enough to use the Ouija board. Now I know what you're thinking. Why would I do something like that? Well, looking back on it, I ask myself that nearly every day. It was probably almost 10 years ago in the wintertime. I was at Josh's house and we agreed to use an Ouija board. One problem, all we had was the planchette. We googled that you can make your own using a piece of paper, cardboard, and draw all the necessary letters, numbers, and phrases on it. We put our fingers on the planchette and said hello. We immediately got a response. Sometimes goes by after we ask a few questions, and the summary of our game was we thought we were talking to a young girl who got killed by a drunk driver, and she wanted us to find her dad and explain what happened. Did you catch the keyword? Thought. A few days go by. I'm sitting in my room just scrolling through the wormhole that is social media, when out of nowhere my Xbox turns on. TV isn't on, so all I hear is the noise it makes, followed by the small green dot that appeared in the center of the power button. My first thought was I accidentally sat or pressed the middle of the button on the controller to make it turn on, but the controller was on my nightstand next to my bed. As I'm getting up to turn it off, I'm shrugging it off as maybe an outlet surge that sent power to the cord and made it turn on. I turn it off, turn around, and laid back down. About 30 seconds later, it does the same exact thing. Again, I try to shrug it off. I get up and turn it off. This time, as soon as I turned my back to go lay down, it turns right back on. I remember the chills it gave me. My mom was home, so I called out to her to please come in my room. I explained to her what happened. I could tell she didn't believe me and was a little annoyed because I interrupted her phone call. I turned it off while she was there and told her to wait. I even walked away from it to show her I couldn't be doing it. And right before she walks away, it does it again. She hung up her phone. We turn my TV on, and the entire screen is almost shaking back and forth. We decide to turn it back off, and even unplug the power cord from the wall. It still tried to turn on. We both brush it off. Later that night, I woke up to go get myself something to drink. You had to pass by our living room in order to get into the kitchen. On any given night, you could make out the silhouette of our furniture. This night, you couldn't see anything. After I got myself some water, I go in and check on my mom. Her room was the same as our living room, pitch black, and no silhouette. I go to my mom and ask her if she's okay. As soon as I put my head on her shoulder, her eyes shoot wide open. This took me back even more because everyone in my family are heavy sleepers, all of us. I asked her if she was okay. The widest, most evil grin I've ever seen comes across her face. She just says, "Go back to bed, honey. Everything is going to be fine." Her eyes shut immediately, and she goes back to sleep. The next morning, she has no recollection of that.